There's going to be the potential for red lights to be run, and the dangers inherent in that. But we will see. Oh, he just went off the road.
Oh, he's losing control off the 710 freeway, off the 10 and the 710, losing control. Looks like he maybe slammed into a light pole there at the intersection of Ramona Boulevard and Ramona Road. We'll see if anybody jumps out of that vehicle, but it does look like the vehicle is now disabled. It looks like the driver's side door is still closed, but there is somebody walking around. He may have gotten out of the vehicle. That's the driver, and a passenger now running up the embankment. There's a passenger running up the embankment, somebody else walking, staying right around that vehicle. It looks like he doesn't want to run, but one of those suspects is on the run up that embankment at the intersection of Ramona Boulevard and Ramona Road. He just passed the 710 freeway and at the end of Eastern Avenue slammed into that curb after losing control. He just took it way too fast, and it looks like this person is ready to give up. He's got the night sun on him, in his face. We know there were at least 3 people total at a minimum. There were 3. One person has gone running up the embankment.
Who's this guy?
We have one person standing right by the vehicle. This looks like he's a passerby that's just asking if he's okay. That's a good Samaritan who is just pulling over
may not
to
know
check
what
on
the,
this minivan.
what the backstory is.
He has no idea. Yeah, he's got no idea what's going on, but we still have at least 2 people either unaccounted for unless that third person is still in the car. Something tells me the other 2 probably both were able to get out of there and are running for it. But we have one person now walking down the sidewalk as if nothing happened. I believe that may be the driver. It is the driver. That's the driver now walking casually down Ramona Boulevard.
Kind of limping.
2 other passengers. He's limping a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't even be surprised if that airbag went off. I don't know for sure, but he took that turn way too fast and then slammed into the curb and eventually either into the retaining wall and possibly even into the light. Look at it. He's struggling a little bit, Mark. You're right. He's in no shape to run like the other guys. And now it looks like he's going to maybe just try and blend into the night here. But that night sun is right on him. They are triangulating LAPD units into this area. But as you can see, those primary units that were right behind the suspect for so long, apparently at some point, I see them now right below Air 7 here. They're making their way into the area. But those original pursuing officers, at some point along the freeway transition, I guess lost them. They must have been unable to make the either the turn with him. I don't know what happened. They were right behind him. You saw that, Mark, and then suddenly they're gone. So they are getting their way. They're getting their bearings. They're making their way back into the area. I see a lot of flashing lights in the area, but right now only the helicopter with the night sun on that driver.
Yeah, and he's stumbling around. I wonder if there might be some intoxication there. I wonder if he might have been in some way concussed by the force of the collision. But he was a little stumbly. Now he's going to try to make a run for it or a trot for it. All right.
Yeah, making a run here. Corporate Center Drive at Ramona Boulevard. Again, just kind of casually walking down the road here. And, you know, maybe even convinced that he's gotten away with it. But it took him a minute to get his bearings. Somebody, another good Samaritan apparently stopping, potentially. He's talking to somebody in the passenger seat. And that vehicle is continuing on. So he's just walking through this neighborhood. It's a commercial area. And here comes
the Highway Patrol.
California Highway Patrol. They're going to be approaching him here momentarily, and we're going to try and get around this tree.
All right, there he is. I don't know what story he's trying to tell him, if he's going to try to tell him a story or what, but you're under arrest, sir, and that's it for that. Hands behind the back. He is now in the custody of the Highway Patrol. Now the question is, what has become of the other 2 people that were in the vehicle that is now, about 2 blocks behind him, that crashed, first lost control as it was heading down that off-ramp at Eastern Avenue, and then crashed into the curb and then the retaining wall, we believe, and the traffic light. There it is.
Yeah. That's where it ended right there. You can see the vehicle, but unfortunately, Mark, without any real presence here, you have CHP now pulling into the area off of the freeway. LAPD nowhere to be seen suddenly. Again, surprisingly, because they were right behind him for so long. There's a couple of units, but for the most part, there is not nearly enough police presence to establish a perimeter. We know that at least one, maybe two of those suspects walked up this embankment here onto private property.
Luminarias.
And are probably hiding out as we speak. But again, without any police presence, I would be willing to bet that they are going to be making their way home in all likelihood. Just not enough police presence to establish a perimeter. And in any case, it is typically, they're pointing their gun at somebody, or at least pointing the flashlight up there. Maybe they see signs of somebody in the bushes hiding out. The other two you saw were a little more able-bodied than the driver. I had a suspicion that they would be making their way a little further away from the scene of the crime here, but if they're just hiding out up there and somebody has spotted them, that may allow them an opportunity to bring these other ones into custody. But I think in any case, Mark, it just is typically the case that the driver is the focus. Now, these were shooting suspects, so that complicates things. They want all of these guys in custody if at all possible, but just very difficult without anybody at the end of this pursuit termination.
Right, unless if they're hiding, you know, as you know, the LAPD helicopters, probably most of the law enforcement helicopters now, if not all, are equipped with forward-looking infrared, which we know can detect the body heat of someone against the background of the ground. And you can't hide. You might think you can at night, but you can't, especially at night because the ground is cooler and the warmth of a human body stands out that much further, and there's literally no way they can hide unless they get against a background that is of similar temperature. And so maybe that is what is being helpful here as more units arrive on scene, and they're starting to point their flashlights up the hill, as we, of course, saw that one person, kind of a skinny person in what appeared to be light gray pants, light gray, perhaps long sleeve sweatshirt, if I remember correctly, and heading up the hill toward Luminarias.
That's right, and they were looking right up the hill from where the pursuit ended. It looks like the airship is actually pointing the night sun a little bit further. I believe that's going to be to the north, and that will be where they're focusing their infrared if they are able to see any heat signatures in that brush. It does look like, though, you know, with a big wide open parking lot back there and some other private property, it might be might very well be the case that they're going to try and hide out in the brush, in which case you're absolutely correct. At some point, they will be able to use those tools to find those suspects within the vegetation there. But and you can see they've actually done a pretty reasonable job. CHP has, by the way. This is all mostly CHP that has established a little bit of a perimeter. Again, still quite possible that these guys were able to depart this area. I don't think it's a sure thing at this point that they're in this box or in this perimeter, but we did see at least somebody catching the attention of that CHP officer off of Ramona. So they're going to be scouring this area again, if for no other reason that these are shooting suspects and there is a larger crime under investigation here. They're going to, again, just as LAPD was dedicating a lot of units, CHP appears to be willing to dedicate a lot of resources as well at the end of this pursuit. And now you get, look at this.
There's
somebody walking right out of the bushes with his hands up in the air. That may be him. It certainly appears to be one of the passengers that is now walking through the parking lot. Appears to be obeying command with his hands up in the air, stepping towards those officers at gunpoint, and now on the ground. That is now going to be 2 of 3 in custody that we know for sure. We know there were 3 at least, and this will make a driver and a passenger now being detained.
Yes, and this is on the property. Where they are is kind of a landmark in Monterey Park. I mentioned it a couple times, Luminarias Restaurant, the site of countless wedding receptions, quinceañeras, and other special events. As they continue to search through this, it's a good thing there wasn't an event happening at this place at this time, because it would be a much more different and perhaps more dangerous situation. What they've got now, 2 out of the 3 that we know of who were in the car are now in custody, and the search continues for at least one more person.